Bro, I don't have a mask. Is that okay?
Oh, I have on my car.
Testing sound. Can you hear us, maybe? Maybe put in the chat. Hold on. Wait, did you say something? Oh, can hear, yay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what the, check with the mic.
So how do we do that?
Testing, oh. The sound.
Yeah.
Testing, testing. How's the sound?
Great question. I know.
Especially on here, among our community, we would love to have more involvement. Did that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold tight. We have folks still coming in, and we'll start shortly. Hi Nadine, we're gonna test out the sound. If you could speak. Nadine, are you there?
Hi, can folks hear me?
Can you keep speaking? We'll test the sound.
Hi. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. Hello? Hi. Hello, 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 hello.
That we're On the mic. Yeah.
Sound test. Oh, now it's moving. I think this will have to work. Yeah. Yeah.
This
Okay, yeah.
sounds good.
Oh, it's Nadine says it sounds good. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's good. So we'll just unmute from here. Yay. Yay.
Starting now, people can settle down and find a seat. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nicole. Today. You want to introduce yourself as the Filipino American and Gender Task Force. My passport is on some of them to leave me say hi. So we are individuals from different member organizations of the National Alliance for Filipino Consent and
Woo.
Filipino American Organization and Filipino Community Task Force. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here today to come together, have a feasting or link arms to support relief efforts for COVID-19 and also discuss issues that are affecting Filipino communities here in Washington and across the U.S. So more context as to why we're here. During the August consulate visit, the community dialogue was requested with Consul General Neil Ferrer during his time in Seattle, but it was not able to fit in the schedule. So the community dialogue has posed reading concerns of both the Eastern Washington State, such as the United States fishermen and their property case, hospital workers having to access consular needs, and other issues covered in the Filipino American Agenda. So in Washington, the challenge of not having a consulate to serve the 180,000 Filipino population in this state. And with the 2024 presidential election to pave the way, we must still come together as a Filipino community to raise the initial concerns wanted present in the Consul General. And no matter who takes office, it is our Filipino community that can work together to address the long-term issues and concerns of our people. So, again, thank you everyone for being here. And we'll go to the next slide. All right, so here's the agenda for today. We have a welcome and housekeeping and multicultural introduction of the FAA National Landscape of Filipinos in the U.S. and in Washington. Community testimonials, section A after that. And we'll be going out in breakout groups to do some discussions. And we have a Prior to this page, and I will cut it off real quick for Ray because it's in what needs to be part of the plan.
Yeah, welcome today. Thanks for the shout out. I don't know where that's going to happen. Yeah, my name is William. I'm a ranking file member with Local 117 as a local international brotherhood of Teamsters. This office in Chicago is our union hall, as well as Teamsters Local 174, who represents UPS workers. And our local has around 17,000 members. 18,000 members. That's a long time. As well as the drivers union who represents rideshare workers. So this is a very active space. It's really great that this could be open for the FAA Town Hall today. I'll give a shout out to Memo, who's our 117 legislative director. So I know that we want to say yeah, for making to help this maybe happen. And I'll give it a obligatory, when we fight, we win. That's what I usually hear when I'm sitting in my membership meetings. So when I say, when we fight, thank you.
All right, I'll pass it off next to our local performers, inviting it to the first,
Yeah, so now that you're for New York City, okay, and then also, this is sponsored for so shout out to our local yeah, we are starting with a cultural, so can I call the South End contingent for K Kabataan the price of free? It's not a solo performance. So yeah. Okay, so we are just starting with the name for cultural that we offered in Kabataan the price of free. It's called the title, which is dedicated various times. And so what here is trying to see the conditions, right? So it's time for us to either we have a role in fighting for the in serving our communities here in Washington. Also, in OUS, and even higher up to the Philippines. It's time for us to be brave, but that importantly, we can't get out alone. And you can only do that in the all together. And so this is a testimony that we can do that. And this is only one thing out of the many things that we can do. Okay, so we're gonna start. Okay.
And quick housekeeping, so bathrooms will be right out these front doors, just across the hall. We have a couch in the corner in the back over there, with some color pages and stickers. There's not an inner door, okay, we have few colors, pages, it's really like. And we also have some food in the back, some avocado, made by our lovely food truck team. So, yeah, and also feel free to visit the tables, from the various organizations that we have here. And we're also asking for a sliding scale donation of $515 to help fundraise for fabrication. I will pass it on to Jenny. Thank you again for coming tonight to this important town hall, we're days away from the election, right? Who here is ready to take action, whether you're coming together in your community, or taking it out to the streets? Yeah. Or taking it to legislators, who here is ready to fight, no matter who is in power? Everything in context to what the Filipino-American agenda is. So back in April, we actually gathered over 130 participants to convene the nation, Filipinos across the nation, to help launch this Filipino-American agenda. And we really express our gratitude to all of the leading organizations here and across the country to really help contextualize the different struggles Filipinos are facing here in the US and in the Philippines. And so we really want to, recognize the contributions of everyone's expertise and experiences as workers, migrants, health professionals, educators, creatives, faith leaders, to help form this current iteration of the Filipino American Agenda. And so the Philip Agenda is a direct product of organizers, advocates, and directly impacted families and community members working together on the most pressing pressing issues in our community, such as economic and workers' issues, the housing crisis, anti-Asian hate, and anti-immigrant sentiments, and health, education, and foreign affairs. And since the launch, many organizations have organized town halls, provided guidance and surveys, and participated in local community organizations and campaigns that inform our agenda points. And this past July, we actually launched the FAA here locally. How many here were at Pistas Nagan back in July? You're outside, we had a little stuff on, we had a barbecue. And so we launched there at Pistas Nagan with other organizations. And we really wanted to come together to discuss these key issues affecting Filipinos locally. And many of them, such as the Justice for the United States, Canadian non-profit workers, Medical Center, Openness United, and Rotary Workers United. These campaigns gave basis to the Filipino American agenda and what it is now. So these were some of the primary concerns identified in the FAA through our community organizing and research. Today's town hall was organized to affirm the calls of our kababayan in the FAA and to highlight the campaigns that have been waged. And we hope through this town hall it becomes clear that the only way to create meaningful change is to come together to find solutions to the basic issues that our Filipinos face in this country. Before we get started, we'll first hear from Nadine from NACFUN on the political landscape of Filipinos here in the U.S. and here locally in Washington.
Everyone, can folks hear me okay? Yes. Hello?
What?
Can we hear you? Yeah, can you hear me?
Is she speaking? What?
Yes.
Oh, you know what it is? Give me 1 second. Speaker. It should be the same.
Hello?
I see your mouth moving, but I'm not hearing it. Right?
Hello?
Try again.
Hello?
This literally worked earlier, and now it's not. So Michael Pro speakers, Blackboard, no. Now try.
Hello? Hello?
Still not. Y'all. Yeah, no clue. It is up. Yes.
Hello?
It worked earlier, so I don't know what changed between now and then. No, I haven't touched. Oh.
No.
All right, try it now.
Hello?
We heard something.
Hello?
There you go.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I don't know if you all can see me or if I'm just a voice out of nowhere inside your head. But sorry I can't be there in person just yet. My name is Nadine. I am with the National Alliance for Filipino Concerns and the Filipino Community Health Board. Thank you all for being here today. I just wanted to go into what we're going into to help us contextualize the FAA in this current period. So we need to recognize that we're days away from elections, if you didn't know. In politics in the US, elections are held for government officials, right, at the federal and state and local levels. And 2024 is an election year. Oftentimes when we think about elections, we think about who's running for president, and the thought directly goes to who's running. and what party are you supporting? But really who we want to highlight today, most importantly, is beyond politicians and voting, but the people of this country and abroad, particularly Filipinos. Because no matter the outcome of US elections, we still need to come together and act now as a Filipino community to make meaningful change for Filipinos here in the US and for kababayans impacted most, especially right during the most recent typhoon in the Philippines. So with this, I'm hoping that we can view elections really as an arena for gathering us as community together, raising our level of understanding and coming to unities on what our aspirations are. So if we go to the next slide, we're going to see what are the trends on in regards to the economic situation on both a federal and global scale. So to the left, you can see in the United States, we see more than half of the US federal budget being allocated towards militarism instead of services people need, such as education and healthcare. We see worsening in conditions, meanwhile, in the Philippines. As you can see here, in regards to food insecurity in Southeast Asia, the Philippines is number one on that list. 51 million are suffering from food insecurity. So for us to understand the economic situation for Filipinos, we also need to understand that many Filipinos here in the US continue to support their families back home. And oftentimes it's really, unfortunately, the militarism that's happening in other countries that the US perpetuates that's causing the types of insecurities we see in these countries listed. If we go to the next slide, particular to our state, in Washington, there are over 180,000 Filipinos in Washington, and that's from the most recent census. We are among the largest API eligible voters, which means we do have a stake in the elections and can leverage this to keep local officials accountable to their Filipino constituents, our desires and aspirations. Despite having a large population, there is still no Philippine consulate in Washington. This is to highlight that in both fronts, whether it's the Philippine or the US government, there's still a disregard for Filipinos in spite of their contributions and large presence in this area. However, from a little bird, we heard that there's actually going to be, there might be a consulate built next year, but that really wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the local organizations that have been part of a coalition really calling for having a Philippine consulate here in this area. So we'll go to the next slide and I'll pass it off to Nicole, who's going to take us into more of what the political economic situation and how it impacts Filipinos in the US.
On this slide, the working class Filipino is comprised majority, 59% of Filipinos in the US, with the majority of them working in service industries. So working at grocery stores, restaurants, warehouses, hotels, and all throughout the healthcare industry. Housing has become unstable and no longer feasible to live in due to the gentrification and tourism in parents seeking affordable housing options for local residents. With limited affordable housing options, rising rent, and competitive housing, Filipinos face the harsh reality and risk of homelessness and displacement. Next slide, please. And so on this slide, right, locally we know that there is a housing crisis. In spite of there being more homes built, housing is largely unaffordable and inaccessible to many. Even outside of the Filipino community, we also recognize that others of IMA who not find also part of the just levels of housing among refugees and asylum seekers from multiple countries. We also have an issue with the general increase of tuition costs and decrease in funding for student services. So the total student debt right now in the United States is more than $1.7 trillion, with an average debt of $37,000 per student. Lack of culturally relevant education, absence of heightened educational protection, and decreasing funding for student clubs and lack of access to services for students. Next slide. example of where we can do a process in the South End, where students are trying to take out their education and upward pro people's education. And then I'll pass it back out to maybe for the next stuff.
You should be good.
Can we go to the next slide, please?
Perfect.
Thank you. So what does this mean for workers? We've seen an increase in labor, stagnation in wages, and worsening health conditions. I think in some of the testimonials we'll hear later, we're going to hear real life experiences of how understaffing has also resulted in more work per hour. And there's also instances of wage theft and trafficking schemes. I think particularly we'll highlight this with the United Six, who are here today. On top of that, working conditions are also exacerbating health issues such as depression, anxiety, and chronic pain. There's also a rise in substance use as a response to mental health struggles, which has also increased rates of suicidal ideation among community members. So it's really showing just like how dire the economic situation is of not just making it difficult to work, but how these are also resulting in chronic health issues that Filipinos are experiencing. If we go to the next slide, here are just some local examples that we're going to highlight today from the United Six, who helped us launch our FAA back in July locally. And then we'll also hear from UW Medical Center and Harborview Medical Center workers as well on the fight that they're waging at both hospitals. Given that, you know, there's been chronic short staffing and little response to wage increases. I'll go to the next slide. Additionally, we've also seen an increase in violence towards the Filipino community and political repression, especially since the height of the pandemic. As folks know, we've seen an increase in anti-Asian violence. And in 2023, at least 1,243 people were killed by the police, which is a 13% increase since 2021, which is pretty large. We've also seen an increase in campus repression. As Nicole was sharing earlier, students are wanting to make their voices heard and organize. However, we're also seeing how campuses are responding in a way that is not encouraging conditions for students to really organize as well. We'll go to the next slide, in which Nicole's actually going to take us through a situationer on some of the ballot initiatives that we're seeing among people in Washington.
And who here is registered to vote? Yeah. Who here knows someone who can vote? Yeah. Should be everyone, right? So this is a situationer on, you know, it's not only candidates that are on our ballot this election, it's also really harmful initiatives. So on the Washington State ballot this election, we have a slew of disgusting backwards initiatives being bankrolled by hedge fund manager named Brian Taylor, who was the force behind 6 progressive initiatives and 4 have made it onto the November ballot. These initiatives will make it a tax-free haven for the ultra-wealthy residents of our state, all at the cost of completely destroying all our programs and stealing funding for kids, clinics, and climate and our communities. So, just a quick explanation. You can definitely search these up online. They are like you should be able to see some of the initiatives in the past in full, but just a quick just a quick explanation for each one of them. So initiative 2066 would essentially prohibit state and local governments from restricting access to natural gas and would prohibit the state building code council from prohibiting, discouraging, or penalizing the use of natural gas in any buildings. But in reality, what this initiative really does is that it pollutes our infrastructure and clean air. It would increase energy bills for Washington families, and it would jeopardize programs that help people living on low income. That have access to more accessible appliances that save money. Energy efficiency lowers their utility bills and keep their homes comfortable during extreme winters, heat waves, and wildfire smoke. So, as it would require, utility companies to continue investing in outdated technology, and the cost would be passed on to families and businesses if this initiative were to be passed. The next initiative is initiative 2124. This would allow people to opt out of the state's long-term care coverage plan and tax. So ultimately, this initiative will defund clinics and long-term care for Washington residents. It'll bankrupt Washington's public insurance benefits for people with disabilities, chronic illnesses, and those who are aging. Initiative 2124 will leave millions of Washingtonians with no real care and choice for long-term care because private insurances are far too expensive, right? They jack up premiums by 37% and often reject people who have cancer, diabetes, and other common pre-existing conditions. The truth is that initiative 2124 only benefits big private insurance companies. Next up, we have initiative 2109, which repeals the state's 7% capital gains tax. With a raise of hands, who knows what a capital gains tax is? Yeah, only a couple of us, right? So just a quick explanation for what that is. So state lawmakers passed a capital gains tax in 2021 that taxes 7% of the sales or exchange of stocks, bonds, and other assets above $250,000 with some assumptions. The money goes to measures like childcare subsidies for qualified families, bonuses for childcare earners, offering part-time cover hours in school construction. Initiative Measure 2109 will steal billions of dollars in education and infrastructure, funds just so people and other millionaires and billionaires can save a pretty penny on taxes. The way that it works is that it first found our extremely narrow capital gains tax, which was already created to fix our lopsided, broken, and still lopsided and broken taxation system that disproportionately forces working families to pay the brunt of keeping our state services afloat, while the wealthiest of our state still complain about having to pay pennies to our communities. Ultimately, they will cut more than $2.2 billion over 5 years from education, worsening Washington's childcare and school funding crisis from Seattle to Knoxville. Plus, if the initiative were to pass, it will shift more of the tax pressure to small businesses and working families, impacting Washington's economy. The last initiative is initiative 2117. It's an act that will repeal the Climate Commitment Act. Raise your hands again. Who here is familiar with the Climate Commitment Act? Well, only a few of us again. Okay. So to explain what it is, the Climate Commitment Act is a pro-climate legislation that was created our carbon market, which encourages economic growth in alignment to our climate justice and carbon reduction goals. Initiative 2117 will fund our state's climate and infrastructure funding by repealing the Climate Commitment Act. And for what for, right? So the billionaires in our state can save just a couple dollars. So while Filipinos in our community use critical programs and pay more taxes out of pocket to fund their services, these people just cash in. So the kind of, did you know that free new transit passes are fueled by the Climate Commitment Act? And did you know that this initiative would remove the cap on pollution, eliminating good and prevention proven policies that prevents Washington from asking polluters to help combat climate change? That's just, and so that's just one of the countless good policies and programs that billionaires like Haywood is trying to take away from us. The worst part about that is that it affects education funding at all levels of our state, from K-12 to higher education, It was not funding for education legacy, traffic, which from the RCW is for support of the common school and representing access to higher education through funding, for new enrollments and financial aid, early learning and transfer programs, and other educational improvement efforts. So how sick is it, right? To be spending millions of dollars to steal billions from our state's youth and from our communities. From childcare colleges to payment of Haywood's power and the billionaires in our state, these entitlement and petulance. So, and even though that Washington is historically a blue state, this made it onto our November ballots. And alongside a slate of other progressive initiatives. So urging everyone to vote no on all these initiatives to protect for Washington and our communities. So in fact, the point is, what can we do as a Filipino community? Different local initiatives and educating us on the for walking us through the different initiatives. That takes a lot of research. How many of you are doing any of that? That's on And so, you know, in times of crisis, what can we do as a Filipino community? If we go to the next slide.
Oop, my bad.
As mentioned earlier, we talked about how we launched across the nation. These are just some images of different town halls, community forums. Next slide. And so from across the different nations or states, they have their own town halls, whether it's health, housing, and we even had an ethnic media town hall online. And so there's so many issues that different sectors of our community are working on. How many here are healthcare workers or working in hospitals? How many here, work in education? Education for church people. How many here represent your church? So all of these studies came together over the last few months. Next slide. And then there was even surveys that were conducted over the past few months also. And I can't read it from here, but the top issue was gainful employment and higher wages. How many here think that this is also a top issue in our community also? Yeah. Affordable housing. Yeah. Asian inflation and spending costs. Concerns. And for the next few slides, we had to get 3 volunteers to lead some important points.
I can wait.
1, 2, 3. Okay, come on up.
This one is right there.
All right, let's start with you. Can I get your name, please? My name is Yang. Okay, and then you have?
My name is I'm going to Grande Seattle.
You go the other slide to read the Filipino American agenda. Starting off with you. Just to read the full slide. It's just numbers. Numbers. Number 1, on economic justice and ensure workers' rights by supporting the ability to organize, strengthening protections against wage theft, human trafficking, retaliation, and guaranteeing livable wages and hazard pay for essential workers. On the housing crisis, protect the renters to the stronger and center of policy and expand affordable housing. Initiatives violence of the house and violence of homeless encampments in the Philippines and social services, public goods, and workplace. Workforce. Reintegration support. 3. On racial justice and police brutality. Hold law enforcement and government officials accountable for violence. Ending qualified improving state victim services and support for rape crimes victims and funding community services instead of increasing law enforcement of surveillance which this one was really harm communities of color. 4. On the immigrant trade pathway of legalizations of all undocumented citizens, raise detention for deportation, sorry, protect immigrant workers' rights, ensure resources. Equitable. Healthcare and resources for immigrant communities and fund immigrant development rather than border militarization or
It'll change. Nope, it's live stream, so give it a second. You should be good. If you actually, I'll pull up the actual document.
5. On the right to affordable and relevant education. Ensure free, quality education for all. Cancel student debt, implement culturally relevant curricula, expand and protect ethnic studies, prioritize education funding, improve access to mental health and college readiness services, stop migrant teacher trafficking, and uphold the rights of students, faculty, and staff to organize and do impressions. 5. Fund support for ethnic media. Fund under-resourced users. Provide grants for community-led journalism. Improve media literacy for marginalized groups. Ensure equal access for ethnic media journalists. And establish legal protections against harassment, intimidation, and hate crimes. 7. On health and wellness. Increase federal funding for healthcare, expand access to mental health services, improve research on Filipino health needs, ensure equitable distribution of COVID-19 resources, support healthcare workers with safe staffing, and implement community-based healthcare solutions while holding legislators accountable. 8. On small business protection. Provide grants for small businesses and still recovering from the pandemic and rising costs. And expand financial literacy, mentorship networks, and grants for the new small businesses.
On environmental and climate justice. Declare a climate emergency. Hold major polluters accountable for emissions. Invest in climate resilient infrastructure in vulnerable communities. And ensure worker protections for migrant agricultural labor. And 10. On foreign policy and affairs, call for an end to U.S. military aid to the Philippines until human rights violations are addressed. Support Palestinian human rights and an immediate ceasefire. Ensure trade agreements respect sovereignty and rights of the Philippines and other nations. And redirect taxpayer funds from military aid to social services.
For volunteers for reading the Filipino American agenda. And so these points are still developing and being drafted, even as we speak, as we gather more concerns on the ground. At the front desk table, there's a little Z, the FAA Z. So if you want to read more on the agenda, please feel free to grab a Z. And you can also use these when we're going into our breakout rooms on the different agenda points. And so now we'll get into the meat of our program today, which is the testimonials from people who are experiencing these very issues, named the Filipino American agenda. I'll pass it off to Nico of Vigante, Seattle, who will walk us through all of our testimonials.
I just want to first start out, thank you so much to everyone who has come here today. It's really important that we talk about the different issues that are afflicting the Filipino community. And it's even more important that we actually come together to not only talk about them, be aware, but also do something about it. Who's ready to do something about the issues in our Filipino community? I am with United Seattle. We are a Filipino organization fighting for the rights and welfare of our overseas kababayan and Filipino workers. And we are one of the conveners of the Filipino American Agenda. So what I'll be doing is take us through some of the testimonials today. Some of the things we saw, there's different percentages or trends, different issues that were highlighted across the nation. But beyond the numbers, beyond the slides, these are actual real lives, real stories, real things that are happening in the Filipino community. And so we're going to hear from a series of different sharing testimonials from students, workers, fishermen, even different parts of our Filipino community that have things to share and issues that we should also take up together. I'm gonna go ahead and call up two current students from the University of Washington. Rita is a UW student, UW Seattle student in the 3B4M art major. They are currently serving on the FAA board as this year's political chair. And growing up without much access to the community and education outside of the immediate family, they are excited to come together in the fight for more community-centered and culturally relevant education that serves the needs of the community. Ali is the second at the currently studying English and education studies. He is currently serving as the academics chair for the Filipino American Student Association at UW. As an aspiring high school English teacher, Ali is constantly seeking more equitable and inclusive approaches to education in an effort to support all students, but especially those that are consistently underrepresented.
Okay, since we're students, we're also teachers, so we have a chant for y'all today. Yeah. We say, Pasa sa. Pasa sa. Pasa sa.
Just again, Ali,
I'm Ria, I use they, she pronouns.
yeah, and we want to talk a little bit about some work we've been doing for FASA at the University of Washington. So we just recently had a first general meeting with a lot of our college, our Filipino American college student members, and we did a survey and found that 68% of the members were attending our meetings to find community, and 21% were attending for cultural learning. And that's something that we believe FASA has taken up a lot of. Is kind of teaching about the history, the culture, the traditions that we have that often our schools cover and we teach as so I feel like our board historically until now is giving up a lot of that. And we're kind of looking into why we're doing that and why our school residents provide these for us. And why we as students have to pick it up. But yeah, we have been doing the thing that we've been calling the Filipino Education Initiative, where we are talking to Filipino professors at the University of Washington, who teach courses relating to Filipino culture and history, and also language, and see what kind of support UW offers and kind of demographics of students who attend this class. And we wanted to give a little background on the funding that UW has for this program. So a lot of the federal funding it goes to militarization, 54% of that money goes to military people. Well, only 6% And even within that, a lot of the funding that UW has, and is getting from donors, the corporations and funding, is going into STEM courses like computer science, engineering, and not a lot is going to the humanities, let alone the American Ethnic Studies department, which is what teaches, our Filipino classes. So, yeah, talk a little bit about Tagalog. Yeah, so we met up with one of our teachers, whose name is Apikel. She couldn't come today, but she's excited to partner more in the future. We learned from Apikel, we went to her class. She has around 20 students in her class. She's the only Filipino Tagalog professor in UW. And on top of that, she's the only Tagalog professor in Washington. And she has worked here for around 6 years. She runs 4 courses a quarter. She also makes her own materials. UW doesn't provide her with any materials. We have some folks who have taken her class before in this room, and when we visited, their classroom room changes. They have to go to different buildings. Sometimes they have to go online, which makes it really hard to learn, but it's also because we don't have the hands to be able to teach our school population of over 500 Filipinos the courses they want to learn if we only have one teacher. Yeah, so that's something we learned from Apikel, but at the same time too, it's really like a testament to her strength as a teacher and her love for our community to really every day come into class and work so hard in order to provide this education to us. And then we also went to our critical Filipino American history course. So we talked with the other TA for that class. Kuya Randall is a really big figure in our office community. We have so many educational programs for our students in Filipino high schoolers. He's a big figure for us. He's a great role model. And he is thinking of a TA position for our one critical Filipino history class. I think that led by Velma. But he does not get paid. He's not an official TA. So he makes the midterms, the assignments, the grades. He helps, like over the summer, he helps create the curriculum for the class, and deciding what to teach the students and how to test their knowledge. But he has not been paid or compensated for any of it. And he's doing it simply out of care and passion for his history and having students, Filipino students know their history and how it applies to now. And so we talked to him a little bit about the American Ethnic Studies major, which is what Filipino history plus fall under the department of. And he graduated actually as a major in American Ethnic Studies. And he was telling us that it's becoming more and more of a major. Less and less people like picking it up. And especially, he's very worried about the upcoming election and funding for American Ethnic Studies of how people are in the Philippines major and how these classes are going to keep running. Something he also talks about is how it's not really a well-known class, the critical Filipino history class. It's something that you only hear from word of mouth. It's not advertised by the also, the director for the American Ethnic Studies, he's actually Filipino. His name is Luis. He's also a very big icon as he does. But unfortunately, this is his last year serving as a director. And once he goes, we're not sure what will happen. But also, currently, as a chair of the humanities, he doesn't get much respect. He's one of the only people of color on that board. And a lot of them don't even know what the American Ethnic Studies major is, and they ask him that board. Very disrespectful. But yeah, it just goes to show how much you think that doesn't prioritize American. But yeah, one more thing we talked about within are the GDOT classes that you go, which are very but they're really the STEM introductory STEM classes that a lot of Filipino American students are actually taking. We have a majority of Filipino Americans we found in the STEM program. And it pushes so many students away from their dreams and like the careers they want to pursue because these classes are so hard and very unattainable and not conducive to learning at all. And so we see a lot of struggle, especially for first generation students in STEM. But yeah, that's for the career random. Yeah, so this has just been like a couple weeks of what we found working within our community, going into classes, meeting with teachers, meeting with students as well in FAFSA. And we're really looking to continue this initiative forward by making more actionable steps based on what we've been learning about what are the needs of our community, especially in education, and what are the needs too of our workers who create the conditions for us to have that education in the first place. So shout out to the workers. And some of what we're hoping to do is meet up with Filipino American educators of Washington. We want to hear about Jill. We want to hear about how the high school students, hi Tika, talk soon. We also want to meet up with the high school students. Shout out right here. Let's come together. Let's talk soon also. And just in our overall community, because like FAFSA is really just grounded in the community, and we want to ensure that we know well what the lives are like of everyone that surrounds us so that we can come together for things like this, like the FAA. And so I think one of the prospect ideas that we have that we want y'all support on is with this Filipino education initiative, we actually want to make a petition with clear needs and asks that we can gauge community support on and actually bring to UW to have them address our needs and our asks. Because UW says it's diverse, but let's put that actually into tangible action, like genuinely put your money where your mouth is. Oh, okay, that kind of hit But this is also not separate. We know that the national funding, when it goes to militarization instead of education, it trickles down to the local level to where we are here in Seattle. And with that, we're seeing this as our contribution to the FAA, especially in education, in fighting for genuinely pro-people, culturally relevant education at our own schools and across the nation because we deserve it. Oh, hey, did it. Oh,
Yes, step them down, yeah.
Can you give them another round? Thank you so much for sharing about I think that's really astounding that 54% of federal citations are going to militarization rather than culturally relevant education and community, the things that our students are asking for, or even if they're not funding for the materials and other things that professors need to actually teach their classes. So I think we can definitely take all of your position into consideration, and it's good that we're sharing it here. I'd like to move on to the next testimonial. Next we have a sharing from the United States. And Mr. Paul and Roberto Cabello of the United States. We are both former presidents and members of the United States who were in a group of presidents abandoned by their employer and community for 4 months after the end of 2023. With community pressure and support of United States were able to use their votes to be president of the government employees. Since then, they have been seen as employees who benefit and their employer from the community. And to get clear of the treatment they face will not happen to anyone in the industry again. Marami na kami naging karanasan sa aming kampanya at nandiyan na rin ang mga tumutulong at mga sumusuporta sa aming kampanya tulad na dahil sa patuloy namin ipinaglalaban ang aming karapatan upang hindi muling maranasan ng iba ang aming mga naranasan sa aming mga employer na natabuso sa amin.
I'm going to be translating what Kira said. So good evening to you all. We in the United States have experienced many things throughout our community, including all of the help and support in us fighting for our rights. This campaign is so that no one ever has to go through the same abuse we experienced through our employees.
Kaya nagkaroon kami ng kaso sa Department of Migrant Workers sa Pilipinas at sa ngayon ay inaantay na lang namin ang resulta ng kaso namin laban sa Piscatores. Iyan ang aming mga development sa aming kampanya.
We have a case against the pescadores with the Department of Migrant Workers in the Philippines. We are currently waiting for the results. That's the current development of our campaign.
Kaya nagpapasalamat ako sa inyong lahat, sa lahat ng mga sumusuporta sa aming kampanya. Kaya sana hindi kayo magsawa na magsuporta sa amin at sa likod nyo kami hanggang matapos itong aming ipinaglalaban. Maraming salamat sa inyo.
Thank you so much for supporting our campaign. We hope that you don't get tired of supporting us. And you will have your backs until the end. Thank you so much. Until then, thank you.
Not done yet.
Ito ang aming mahirap na karanasan. Dahil sa bigay dito sa
Good evening to you all. I'm Rainier, a member of the United States. These are the difficult experiences I faced as a migrant here.
sa panahon na sa barko pa ako ay nakaranas na mag-ibag isa sa barko sa loob ng ilang buwan. Bago kami inuwan sa barko ng Homeland Security.
When I was still on the boat, I experienced being abandoned, alone, on this boat for 2 months before Homeland Security let us off the boat.
Tapos nung nandito na kami sa Washington, ako ay nakaranas naman ng pangulila sa aking pamilya. At nahihirapan na harapin ang klima ng Amerika tulad na lamang ng lamig at ibang klima pa ng Amerika. At wala akong mga kaibigan para magkausap at pwedeng magsabi ng saloobin. Diyan ako nahihirapan kasi sanay ako maraming kaibigan sa Pilipinas.
When we started to live here in Washington, I felt intense grief for being away from my family and had difficulties adjusting to the cold climate and changing seasons in America. I had no friends that I could talk to or share my thoughts and feelings. This was the most difficult thing for me because I'm used to having a lot of friends around in the Philippines.
Pero lahat ng ito ay aking kakayanin para sa pamilya upang makaroon ng magandang kinabukasan at munla.
But I endured these difficulties for my family so they can have a brighter future and have a chance to prosper.
Kaya naman lang para malpasan ang hirap sa Pilipinas. Kaya tama lang na inilaban namin ang aming karapatan kahit na inabuso kasi inabuso nila kami. Kaya sa lahat ng inabuso, lumaban tayo basta nasa tama tayo. At para hindi na rin ito mangyari sa iba pa, kaya laban lang sa tama.
This is why we fight to be free of poverty in the Philippines. This is to fight against our abusers. To all those who have been abused, this is just for us to fight so that this never happens to anyone again. Let's fight for what is right.
Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng inyong lahat sa mga sumusuporta sa amin. At sana patuloy nyo kami suportahan hanggang matapos itong aming pinaglalaban ng karapatan.
Thank you so much to all of you who have supported us. We hope that you continue to do so until justice for our rights is served.
Salamat po sa inyo. Pretend like to be in the United States story you have. at a certain point, they became brave enough to not only lean on each other, but lean on the community that had offered its support to get them off those ships. And now, even today, while they're seeking justice, they are brave enough to even stand for others so that this does not happen to anyone else. So I hope that spirit also is something that we pick up on here as we listen to one another's issues and commit to also fight for our community. So next up, I would like to call two of our friends from the Food Service and Nutrition Workers United from UWNet. I'd like to call on Mika Malbanwa and Eric Obigasan. Attendance is a group of workers that are currently fighting for better working conditions at the University of Washington medical facility. So without further ado, Derek and Lisa.
Okay, we want to share two different statements from our coworkers at UW Motley. And Harborview also faces the same situation that we are going to talk about in terms of what workers at UW Motley experience. So this first one is going to be a sharing from one of our coworkers at Susan. She left the Philippines after graduating college to work in Taiwan in the factories there. She deployed twice as an OSW and later on was able to figure out a way to go to the US and from a tourist visa was able to marry her papers. So with that, she's been working at UW for over 16 years. And this is what she has to say about the situation at UW. So I'll read the Tagalog part because that's the language she wrote it in. And then Jarek over here will read the English part. So, you can practice some translation in both ways. But yeah, so this is about Susan. Kami po ay ang mga manggagawa sa UWNC Plaza Cafe ng Montlake site. Noong May 1, 2024, nagpasa kami ng petisyon na kalaunan ay naging basahan ng aming kampanya sa Food Nutrition Service Workers o FNS Workers United Campaign para sa sapat na staffing. Ang pangunahing problema sa trabaho ay ang pakulangan sa empleyado. Mas madalas na hindi kumpleto ang crew at hindi rin naman basta makatawag ng coverage dahil kadalasan din ay hindi pinahihintulutan ng supervisor na magtawag ng coverage. Ang supervisor at upper management ay hindi malimit na nag-uugnayan sa mga pangyayaring kinakailangan ng atensyon, lalo na yung pangkaligtasan ng empleyado, mga gamit na maaaring masaktan ang aking empleyado kung hindi pinagtuunan ng oras para maisaayos. Walang turnover ang mga supervisor sa pangyayari o mga nagiging problema sa umaga at gayon din sa pangyayari sa gabi. Kung kaya't nagkakaproblema dahil hindi nila malutasan. Maging sa mga posisyon ay hindi ka makakatiyak na ang posisyong nakuha mo ang siyang gagawin mo. Maaaring araw-araw ay iba ang station na paglalagyan sa iyo. Ang magiging pwesto mo sa umaga, pagpasok ay iba-iba. Kahit pa, may sarili ka na sanang posisyon.
We are the workers at the Union Medical Center Plaza Cafe of Montrose. On May 1st, 2024, we had a session at the Union basis of our nutrition workers united campaign for FNS Workers United for adequate staffing and wages. The main problem at work is the rapid understaffing. My crew is always short, and I just can't call coverage because the supervisor is not always allowed to do so. Supervising upper management consistently failed to address major issues that require attention, especially when it comes to employee safety and equipment that can be harmful if not taken the time to repair them. The supervisors do not take care of the problems that occur in the morning and also in the evening, so the problems are never solved. Each day we are unsure what position we work when showing the shift. The place you start in the morning may be different and is definitely different than you leave for the evening. Every day will be different, even when you're hired for a specific position.
Ang aming lakas ng loob na magsabi ng mga hinaing ay nagdulot ng atensyon sa namumuno para pakipulutan kami mapag-usapan ang mga hinaing ng trabahador. Unti-unting nabubuksan ang kaisipan ng mga empleyado sa tahasang paghilinlang at pagmamanipula ng mga namumuno. Pagmamanipula sa sweldo, nakalaang gawain sa trabaho, at mga karapatang bayad sa mga empleyado, kagaya ng pangkalahatan night differential, weekend differential. Hindi ito dapat kung empleyado lang ang bibigyan dahil lahat ng empleyado, lahat ng manggagawa ay may partisipasyon sa produksyon.
Our direction is to make these grievances will reinforce that broader issues to the attention of our leaders and force them to give us a space to share. Little by little, the minds of the employees are being awakened to the belief, deception, and manipulation of the leaders. Fair wages assigned work, tasks, and proper pay for employees like general night, differential, and weekend. These aren't supposed to only be given to chosen employees, they should be given to everyone because everyone participates in production.
Malaki ang epekto sa mga manggagawa. Ang pagtrato, minamaliit ang manggagawa, yung pasweldo na maliit din. Pangunahin na ang kakulangan ng sapat na suporta para sa sariling kondisyon ng pamumuhay sa Amerika. Ang pagtaas ng lahat ng bagay para mabuhay o yung cost of living ay pare-pareho nararamdaman ng lahat. Ngunit ang mga migrante ay nasa pinakababa sa pag-unlad. Kung mananatili at tahimik lamang sa karampot ng pasweldo, ngunit malawak na gawain sa trabaho, talagang hindi tayo uunlad. Kasama ang pamilya sa Pilipinas, sa makakaranas ng pagtitipid sa pagkain o kakulangan sa pagkain, kapag patuloy na hindi tayo bibigyan ng patas na pasweldo sa kasalukuyang inflation.
The impact on the workers with maltreatment and small wages reflect the lack of adequate support for the self-sufficient and medical conditions. Rise of prices to survive all still the same. The companies are robbing the chain, especially with our values and Philippines will experience food security and pay fair wage.
So, makakatulong ang Filipino community dahil sa kanilang suporta at influensya. Ang paghatid ng kaalaman na makakatulong para maunawaan ng mga migranteng empleyado ang iba't ibang karanasan at iba't ibang laban na pwedeng kapulutan ng lakas ng loob. Ang community ay makapagbibigay din ng inspirasyon na lumaban o makayanang tumayo para sa sarili dahil batid ng manggagawa na may suportang maaasahan sa likod nila. Okay. Imagine sa gobyerno ang kalagayan ng mga migrante na bagamat masisipag, naglalaan ng mahabang dedikasyon sa kumpanya, tapat sa trabaho, ay nananatiling mababaw pa rin ang pagpapahalaga ng mga kumpanya sa kanila. Tanungin ninyo ang gobyerno, sino ba ang tao na nananatiling at nagtatagal sa mga kumpanya mula noon hanggang ngayon? Tama. Alam natin na ang mga migrante ang gumagawa niyan.
The Philippine community and support these The knowledge that most migrant employees instead understand that different experiences can be a source of courage that we all can draw from. The community can be inspired to fight and to stand up for themselves, knowing that their support is reliable on the government is responsible for taking others who, despite the population, devote time and attention to helping work together. We have a lot of appreciation for them. Ask the government who has always stayed and stayed in companies from them to
In the English one, it says, it lacks the last part, but it's saying that it's the migrants who stay and do those jobs. So the community can really inspire migrants to fight on.
what about companies?
True. It's true. We have one more. I know we're chatting long. They have a lot to say, but we have one more statement to share, and Jared will tell us a little bit about it.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, it's been happening, so. Yeah,
Got this.
Copy, PC.
in connection to our words. Every about 18 is family members, putting all of his sisters and. Strong stuff. Doesn't which some miles 75 percent, some miles away. Parts of this red loss are still felt across the town. The God's story is just one of the conflicts of our life, and continues to build on the and its lives. And face the brunt of the economic crisis in so many spaces.
Bilang isang OFW na ang pamilya ay biktima ng sakuna sa Pilipinas ay isang malagim na karanasan na hindi malilimutan rin. Oh gosh! Isa itong patunay ng kawalan ng mahigpit at seryosong pagpapasunod o pagpapatupad ng saktong impormasyon pagdating ng isang bagyo o kalamidad. At wastong paghahanda para maibsan ang hirap ng sitwasyon sa mga komunidad.
My experience as an overseas working worker whose family was a victim of a disaster in the Philippines was a terrible experience, one that I will never forget. It is a truth that the lack of strict and serious compliance with proper information in the event of a storm or disaster, proper preparation to the situation. The government needs to dedicate disaster preparedness program so that it can continue to study and research the role of disasters and how to prevent them from losing their lives or destroying their livelihoods. The funds should be allocated to drainage system, improve facilities, and add employees who are skilled in disaster and natural events, volunteer and rescue operation services. Have a budget to help them recover from the pandemic.
I'll give you guys a chance. People talked to you guys a chance earlier, so now we kind of know. We're gonna say, migrante ng bayan, and you guys will say, tuloy, tuloy ang laban, which means migrants of the country, has been and will continue to fight. Migrante ng bayan! Tuloy, tuloy ang laban! Tuloy, tuloy ang laban! Migrante ng bayan!
Yeah, I think, it's important that we are sharing these, different stories from our workplace. We will continue to, provide our support for, not only SMS workers, but for all workers. Because without our workers, the world will truly not run. Next up, I would like to call up, Les from Gabriela, Seattle. Les is a member of Gabriela Seattle, a grassroots organization of Filipino women and LGBTQ people educating, organizing, and mobilizing for the rights and welfare of Filipino women locally and overseas. Founded in 2006, Gabriela seeks to wage the struggle for liberation of Filipino women and all our people from the ills of this oppressive and exploitative system. They are overseas members of the organization of Gabriela Philippines and a member of FAA Seattle, a multi-sectoral alliance of Filipino youth, students, women, and migrants. So please let's give it up for Les from Gabriela. I also like to call on Charlene, from Kabataan Alliance. Charlene sits on the National Executive Board for FAA. FAA is an alliance of Filipino youth and student organizations dedicated to serving our communities in the U.S. and back home in the Philippines. They unite and empower Filipino youth across the U.S. to engage in community organizing and advocacy to build towards a just society where people can reach their full potentials. So please give it up for Charlene and Red.
To the youth students and women in Levante, maybe not the local guidelines as well. For today, we want to share on issues impacting women, and I wanted to start with asking for everyone here to raise your hand if there's a Lola, a Malai, an Ate, Tita, even who has really impacted your life, or has been really influential in your life. And now show of hands if you also know a woman in your life who has been impacted by gender-based violence. So when we're talking about women's issues today, we're also talking about issues that pertain to our outline across the sectors, because sometimes we'll share a bit on the conditions of women here in the industry.
Just to really give context of what is the situation of Filipino women. Again, Filipino women is across all sectors. We are students, we are youth, we are health workers, we are teachers, we are Jollibee workers, in the fast food industry, we are everywhere, right? And so in these elections that are really coming up towards in a couple of days, the really question we want to highlight is as Filipino women, how can we come together and really highlight and address the needs of Filipino women and who are the most exploited, right? So some background is that 60% of Filipino women that come overseas are women. We face many things like violence against our employers. We are threatened from our employers too in terms of our documentation if you're undocumented. And as Filipinos having to be pushed out of our country due to poverty and militarization back home. So, we don't choose to be away from our families, and this really leads to a lot of mental health impacts to our people. Like family separation, having isolation here in the U.S., and even the youth being very disconnected from our homeland, our culture, and also including the economic stresses of low wages and the working conditions that many women face in the workplace. There's also surveys and, across the many states in the US that 20 to 24% experience some, interpersonal domestic violence. Women also Filipino women are also the frontliners of nurses. As Filipinas, in Filipinos, we 4% of the registered nurses in the US. But we saw that 26.4% of the nurses who died of COVID were Filipino. Filipinos in the campuses also face a lot of sexual violence too, and harassment in the campuses. And even just feeling unsafe going to and from work, and having to get off work, late work, and having to take public transportation and unable to feel safe to do so. And so also seeing, a lot of underreporting of cases and lack of resources by the state for Filipino women. And again, continuing the isolation of workplace and home. So this really paints the incidents, but we know that this isn't the case.
Yeah, we are going to share a couple local situations, but as I was sharing that these are not isolated incidences. This is something that is secure, but what we're really up against, right? So we do want to share a more recent example. If folks are familiar with Melissa Buchanan. So a beloved community member, she was a nurse, and just in September, she was reported missing on her way to work. She works and lives in the same garden, but she is from here in Holland. And 2 years later, she was found dead, and her neighbor was arrested, and come to find him for the immediate court period following the arrest, he was charged with misdemeanor. And we're currently in a situation where the court's hearings are still taking place, and they're projected to take potentially up to a couple of years to really find out all of the information. And so I want to actually pass it back to share a little bit more of the concept.
Wow. So yeah, I just want to really share about Melissa, someone who I grew up very close with. And coming from the same town, Filipinos really come together, right? Like, mothers came together and found community among each other, right? So we were at every Filipino party together and stuck to each other by the hip, and we were like sisters. And Melissa was an amazing person, really person that really brought us together, all our friends together regularly. And I just remember, always being down to do anything, always laughing and being silly, doing pranks on people here and there. And as we went on to college, we were both youth leaders in Northwest FASA. Me at CU FASA and then her at FASA of Seattle. Really seeing how, we were able to come together and continue to build more community among the Filipino youth. Really grow our love for our people, our culture, and really serve the people too. And I think that for her, she continued to want to serve the people by becoming a nurse. And what happened to Melissa is really the heinous reality of what women have to face. There's so many cases of violence against women, and we should not have to move in fear. In Melissa's case, the details haven't been laid out, but we should, it's important for us to continue to come together. Like, she's been able to time of her life that really brought Filipinos together, to ensure, how can we fight for each other in our communities, and for us to really come together for her and fight for her justice, and Filipino women across the world. Recently, there was a tita named Ina who was struck by a car in Spanaway on October 30th, so just a couple of days ago. And she was just on her usual route to work, and it saved her life. Filipino the workers at South Center get off work late and have to take public transit. And so having to face like harassment by customers and even coworkers, but even on the way home or to work, And, Melissa was taken when she was on her way to work. We should really, really protect our women and really see that like gender-based violence is really a symptom of the overall problem of our current system. And so Filipinos are all too familiar in facing the brunt of violence, including assault, domestic violence, and exploitation. And so we should really see that these things that are happening to us is part of a bigger problem. And so why we should really come together and fight. In particular to Melissa, Gabriela Seattle, along with Gabriela Portland, and Gabriela USA already taking on the campaign for Melissa and really calling for her justice. And we want to continue to show up in the court hearings every time to really show that we haven't forgotten her or forgotten that, that we can just sweep this under the rug, but, we want to continue to fight for our women. And so really join us in terms of making our way to the different court hearings that are happening in court here. Next we want to talk about Jennifer Lade. So Jennifer Lade is a trans Filipina. In the Philippines, she was in a local city. Who was killed by Joseph Pemberton, who was U.S. Marine that was stationed there in 2014. And he had murdered her in October of that year. He was trialed, but received preferential treatment for his case due to the visiting forces agreement in the Philippines, which paves the way for U.S. military bases to come and visit and use our land and conduct exercises, which leads to a lot of violence of women there. And in 2020, he was pardoned by Duterte and was let free here in the U.S.
So we bring this up because this is the 10-year anniversary, and there's a local relationship to the militarization that happens in the Philippines and for us as Salvadorian overseas. Namely that a lot of us have to leave the homeland because of the first being economic crisis, right, and also the militarization that was really escalated in this particular time period. So not just in 2020 at the release of Pemberton, but even more recently, we're seeing an increase in visiting cases under the Against Domestic Operation Agreement. This past year, 5 new military bases have been opened up to U.S. personnel, and we can look to our history to see that statistically, around the military bases, there's an increase in violence against women because of the impoverished conditions. Our women are forced into prostitution and situations where they are vulnerable to people who have no responsibility responsibility to the country or the community. And so something to note is that since 2014, since Jennifer was married, Gabriella has been there every each of the way, every chapter from back home to here in Seattle, to call for justice for Jennifer. And it's important for us to understand that locally there's a through places like the Joint Base Elizabeth Board, there's actually a relationship between the establishment of these bases and sending personnel. Just 2 years ago, there was actually a case where there was a staff sergeant from JBM who was charged for 420 cases of sexual abuse and sex trafficking of women and children in the Philippines. And so, yeah, we're trying to ensure that people understand that there is a relationship between violence against women and the work. And as board is continuing to be ramped up, as you know, our provider also really trying to provide for this opportunity like West DC, that the women and children end up being the crossfire of the other countries that are trying to dictate what is actually supposed to happen for our country. So this year we it was the same number of people here together. We came together and we refused to let go of Jennifer Riley's story, and we actually stood on the Freedom Bridge to make sure that people understood that we will not forget her story, we will not forget Melissa Green, but rather we will actually continue to fight for them, right? Because until we actually resolve the issues that cause violence against women, these stories and the crimes will continue to happen. So for us, it's really important that locally we really put the, you know, we're organizing ourselves to understand the root issues, and then we're also continuing to pass things like the Philippine Human Rights Act, which is essentially military aid is also going to, that basically enables these human rights crises in the Philippines, which also includes the country's Philippine children. And then also for Gabrielle, we're also calling for jumping these unneeded agreements such as the Visiting Forces Agreement, which allows the U.S. to have preferential treatment over crimes that are happening in their own country. We don't have any flyers today, but if folks are interested in signing on, we actually have a letter for our legislators. It's a collaboration with Gabriella, ICHA, the International Coalition for Human Rights in the Philippines, Malaya, and it's tinyurl.com/PHRU for Jennifer. And it's a sectoral letter representing women's issues and why we're supporting the passing of the PHR. So, in essence, these stories are really revealing, right, that our women are sacrificing and helping so much, and yet they're still facing the brunt of violence, whether that's in the workplace, in the home, or by military forces. And this is especially true for our working class women, our working class migrant women. So it's really important that as part of this platform, right, we're seeing the relationship between our workers, between our youth and students, that we are addressing the economic livelihood of our migrant working class Filipinos, and addressing the roots of poverty in the homeland, which includes violence and militarization, which puts our women and children in a crossfire world. So it's part of our task as Gabriella, and we also welcome any women and LGBT people in the house to join or form your own women's organization to really, really carry out these justice campaigns, but also to really take up those issues in your workplace, in your communities, so that we can end violence against women. And really to do that, we also need to call out, share these other demands, such as ending the economic exploitation and trafficking, and calling for services like housing, healthcare, and assistance to nationals. So history is showing us, right, that no matter who is in office, so long as we come together, we can create a world where we can shout for justice for women and children and our queer trans Hawaiian. But ultimately, we're doing this so that we don't have to have more justice campaigns, right? So let's come together to really organize for those genuine solutions and create those conditions so that our women can be safe and valued contributors to society. So just as a recap, the next court hearing is November 18th. So please join us in Hillsborough, Oregon. I think there's some Gabriella's out with the county town. So purple. Also, we share this out, we can find a way to share this out, but for Tita Lena from Spanaway, who was hit by and died recently, there's a GoFundMe to support her family because, it was really important for her to, go back home. And so that, support the family was real and, funeral services. And then there's other ways, you know, mentioned the HR letter, and then also, if those aren't familiar, there's a national workers campaign that also really benefit our women, such as the Justice for Jollibee Workers campaign. We won't have time to get into the details of that, but, those websites, check it out, Justice for Jollibee Workers, or, feel free to reach out to any Gabrielle or county member here to learn more. And lastly but not least, let's get organized. So we're going to end this and chance. So we're going to do a justice for Melissa Dumaine and a justice for Jennifer Lounge. Okay.
Justice for Melissa Dumaine.
Justice for Melissa Dumaine. Justice for Jennifer Lounge.
Justice for Jennifer Lounge.
Thank you, Brandon, yeah, I know that this is, it is a harsh reality when you think about it, number of Filipino nurses that COVID or, the many different examples of violence against women in, our community. But I think what's important is that, we can take an active role like we are doing tonight to try to change
Give me 1 second. I'm trying so hard.
Okay, I now like to call up our, last sherry. I'd like to call up, Tess Garzon. With the Liver Dog Park and Bridge, Preservation, Society and Deep South Association. She started to be work around raising awareness in the park and the history, and her mother was also an original founder and curator. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on the school. I was to speak here yesterday at the, El Centro, where we had our petition, where we actually, a hundred signature. So it keeps the village, you know, and hearing your stories, it's so nice to see all of these young people being activist minded, and, you know, you really just have to get what you're passionate about and what you want to change and work on it, and then get the right people behind you, and get a letter, a petition, you know, like Larry Phillips, way back in the day, he was the migrant workers, right? He fought for, migrant workers, and he won. Things like that, you know, we need to be like that, and we want to create change. Also, the women in, Filipino women, you know, they, of course, they are so privileged to be here in the United States, sometimes they don't speak up, but we need to be their voice, because sometimes they, or, so it's like, we as Americans need to be able to. So, I remember back when my mom was alive, my mom, did a lot of activist work. She always, supported, rights, you know, Filipino. She was very, very proud of Filipino women. And she was always
always trying to rise above others, and one of the ones that I remember them growing up with, the woman who was pregnant and she was shot by her husband in the courthouse. And they got legislation through to every time you now go in the courthouse, you have to stand. So that's a big thing that was done. Anyway, thank you so much. I am asked to talk about Dr. Jose Rizal. Oh, everybody knows who Dr. Jose Rizal is, right? Yeah. Everyone knows? But, yeah, so, I was asked, to speak, and I told somebody, I said, I'm speaking to the FAA, and you go, federal aviation. Anyway, as some of you know, the plaques were stolen, and a time capsule was taken. Yeah, I know, it was very sad, very terrible, because the people that, actually fought hard to have that park name, and there's only 5 parks named after Dr. Jose Rizal. And one of them is in Seattle. We consider my mother also author of Bridge. Originally, it was a street that they wanted, but they had a bridge and a park named after Dr. Jose Rizal. So that's a big accomplishment in the present year. And you guys can do that too. It's all in the power of coming together, not fighting each other, okay? I know we don't have a tendency to kind of like, figure that come together. Yeah. It's part of our culture. We did this. Brandon, no, but we need to come together. We need to get that whole mentality out and just come together and make a difference. Mother Teresa said, and I love this quote. She said, we can do nobody, only confidence is different. If you can just make a little difference here, we help somebody, okay? Anyway, okay, the stolen plaques. Okay, so of course we all know who Dr. Jose Rizal is. He was a national hero, martyr, genius. He so pointy. He was very educated. He actually led the non-violent drive to some family. And of course, he was martyred. He was executed for it on December 30th. And so he was a revolutionary, and he was martyred. And so he is our national hero, for sure. And so this park that was vandalized on October 13th and October 12th and 13th is very, it could have been maybe even a hate crime. It happened during October, which is the Filipino American National History Month. So it could have been anything, it could have been vandalism, it could have been hate, but we as Filipinos need to come together with a total respect of our legacy and what our people have fought for the major part. And it hurts our spirit as a community, whether it's a hate crime or an act of vandalism. It is the spirit of being in our community, and it has to be known. So we need to make a statement. That park has had a lot of problems with homelessness, crime, and recently there's been Mexican gangs there, doing a lot of drug activity and shootings and even some even say prostitution. So anyway, in a way, it's probably good that this happened, but in a way, it's not, because what was taken was a time capsule, and that time capsule had a lot of history in it. People have put their newspaper articles about their families, some historical items, and it was supposed to be open within 20, 30, 40, 50 years from the time it was put in, but that never happened. I think a lot of us forgot about it. But anyway, what we're asking right now is to, we need community and more police. We need community involvement, we need to go to the come together and make a change, and make that part safe again, and make it beautiful. As you know, there's gonna be a renovation that's happening, starting in 2025, and we all want your input. But back in the, a little history about it, back in the 70s, that was donated by the city of Seattle, and it was, just a tree area, just all trees. And, the community came together and cleaned that out, cleaned that area out, and made it a park. So, you know, that's just something, an example of what we can do as a community, if we all come together. And so, as you know, Seattle is probably one of the, cities that has the lowest police budget. And those are the things that need to be dealt with. We need to talk to our mayor, we need to talk to the city council about that, and, it's just been a problem. So it's, you know, it's been a challenge. We have over 800 active duty police officers in Seattle. Seattle has seen more officers leaving than being replaced. And, historic, staffing shortage. This is the lowest amount of police we've ever had since the 1950s. So it's a major problem, and I think people, can see that, and they get away, they feel that they get away with a lot of things. So that's why there's so much crime over there. And if you go down to the Chinatown over there by the Jose Rizal Bridge, by the way, we're the only city in the nation that has a bridge after the Dr. Jose Rizal. That's huge. So if you go down towards the Chinatown area, it's really a bad situation. There's a lot of homeless, drug paraphernalia, lots of drugs happening there. And that's one of the big reasons why we are having an issue here as well, because of the close proximity to Chinatown that I mean. And, so, you know, some examples, I think, is education. We need to educate our, people about about Dr. Jose who we stood for. But also there's a big correlation between education and income, and then also the homeless situation. They need to be, okay, so Finland and Japan have been very successful with their homeless problem. And we need to probably maybe take some from them as to how to deal with this, because we need more housing. Housing really needs to be dealt with. There's a lot of vacant buildings in the IT district that can be, huh? Oh, one more? Oh, okay. Okay, I thought I was going to speak for 5 minutes. No, speak for 5 minutes. Oh my God. You know, you give a little, mic, they won't give it back. Oh my God, it's so true. Anyway, okay, so things like that. Washington State Lotto, the Mega Millions. I mean, there's so much money here. Why can't we use this for housing, right? And then, police, of course, that's a big issue. And, education. I think if people had homes, they would be more, inclined to get educated. But, anyway, some of these things are things that we need to come together. But first and foremost, we need to, get those plaques, replaced. And we need to get the city involved, and we need to come together with, fundraising and make sure that the city sees that we're also fundraising for this. Not just, okay, we depend on you. So, we have to also do our own fundraising so that we see that we are a big community and that we want to do something good. So anyway, I have a GoFundMe on my Facebook page. I don't have a QR code. I hope you want to use young people will help you. Put a QR code. We also have a distributor over there that was fine. And I just want to thank Mariah, I just want to thank Mariah Movement for, helping with this. I made a jobber, and then we go to the station of Washington, statement, and we've become really good friends, and he's been really the, big supporter, and always, everyone has been, just a huge, activist-minded group that want to do something for our community. So, and this is, talk to us about it after, and thank you so much. Sorry it took more than 5 minutes.
Safety test, yeah, definitely agree, we need more housing, education, and above all, for us to be united together as a community to keep each other safe. So, quick poll, raise your hand if you spoke today. Okay, real quick, can I actually have all of you come back on the stage here? We'll do a quick question and answer, we want to have this be engaging and, have a dialogue with one another. And then we'll limit it, it won't be a full conversation because we are, behind on time, so we'll take, let's just say two questions at most. So can I have everyone who, did a sharing and testimony, you all come back up? If you look at our speaker,
Not a speaker, I'm not a speaker.
so we would like to invite, folks from the crowd, if there are things that move you or they can, have them on, and now the time to ask or participate, you can have, if you have a question, you can just come up to the mic here, our head here has the mic is there, you know. Yeah, any questions? Please walk up to the mic.
I just want to say thank you so much for, your service to our communities. And I wanted to ask a general question, about, what, keeps you so connected to the community? Thank you so much.
I'd like to be thankful for connected because I don't have to hold no people. That's one of the main things, and just communicating before I leave the room. Something that's been really powerful for me is, one of the Gabriela members, we've been spending a lot of time, not that it's all, but we have been, really, wanting to show that we care for, our client, and so we're there on the break, with the hot out and the AC breaks in their really hot, like, kitchens, and so we'll hang out with them and have, some water and popsicles to just, connect in the way that we find because they're working 8, 10, 12 hours a day, really, really tough conditions, and so whenever we can be there, it's those really big opportunities and we just walk out and, can understand and see each other and we're fighting for each other. That is really important, and that to me is like the vitamin fun spirit that I look for whenever I'm home and I get to be with my family. And so, yeah, I think it's really being is like linked up with everybody because on the day to day, right, being in isolation or being by yourself is really, it's really hard on yourself and it feels like, really hopeless, but
There's no middle one, it's not really, keep going.
Maraming namin ang dahil nararamdaman namin na sinusubukan nila kami sa aming pinaglalaban ng karapatan. Nagdala namin sila para suportahan kami at aming nararamdaman yun. At salamat sa lahat na naging pamilya namin kayo sa pamamagitan ng suporta niyo sa amin. Sana patuloy kayong sumuporta sa amin sa aming pinaglalaban ng karapatan na nawala sa amin. Salamat.
The community is important to us, because they have always stood behind us and beside us in our fight for our rights and welfare. Thank you to all of you for supporting our campaign. Thank you for being our family, well far away, and for continuing to ensure that we get justice and that we are able to fight for our rights.
Para sa amin, ang community ay napakahalaga dahil dito kami nagkaroon ng lakas ng loob para ipaglaban ang aming mga karapatan na inyong malaman yung mga nangyayari sa aming mga maliliit na mga laban.
For me, community is important because it is what gave us courage to stand up and fight for our rights. Thank you for your support and yeah.
For more question from the community, anyone would like to ask? This is your last chance. Just kidding. Please don't talk to the government. Yes. Oh. Yeah, just kidding.
Thank you for speaking on your stories and providing of the knowledge and the narratives that we've shared. Another kind of general question, I wanted to ask how do other people, right, go about amplifying their narratives and their voices in our community, and what gives you the courage to do so? That was a good question.
Para sa amin, I speak here of the United States. The United States, we start our lumaban kami dahil kami aling bumaba sa barko, nagkaroon kami ng lakas ng loob dahil sa nalaman namin ang Homeland Security ay i-rescue nila kami, kaya nagkaroon kami ng lakas ng loob para lumabas at lumaban at ipakita sa lahat na kaya kami maliliit na mga fisherman, kaya namin lumaban para sa aming karapatan at para hindi na rin ito mangyari sa iba. Kaya namin gusto ipakita sa lahat na may karapatan din yung lumaban pag tayo sa tama. Thank you.
For us in the United States, we gained courage to step off the boat and fight for our rights. After we learned that Homeland Security was there to rescue us. And then this is a little bit of an explanation, but, the Homeland Security rescuing them is really to testify that they are being trafficked, they are not jumping off the ship. But that detail is important because it means they were victims of human trafficking. But when they rescued us, we gained the courage, and even though there's only 6 of them that stepped off the boat, they want to continue to show everybody else that even the small workers, the small people, they should step up and fight back, especially when they're in the right. Share, it's really to, not just leave our story here in this room, but to be share. Among our families and our friends and communities, and continue to amplify them. As a couple of alliance, we're really putting on the different campaigns and bring our stories alongside. Because we really resonate with a lot of them, right? Make sure that these stories we've heard really resonates with y'all. This is our everyday experience as everyday Filipinos. And, I think just seeing us really come together like this continuously really gives me the courage and the will to fight, that as Filipinos, we really, really have a strong will to fight for our rights. And together, we can really take on the Filipino American agenda. We can take on the issues that we really face and not just leave it at that, but really come together and organize and fight them.
Ako ay naglakas ng loob na ibabatid sa lahat ang mga nangyari sa amin. Dahil sa akin, ang nangyari sa akin ay nagpaalam talaga ako na uwi na dahil tapos na rin ang kontrata, pero hindi ako pinayagan. Kaya naglakas loob talaga ako na iparating at ipahayag para malaman ng lahat ang mga nangyayari sa amin na mga fisherman. Dahil ako matagal na rin experience sa fishing, hindi lang dito sa Washington, sa Hawaii, sa dito. Maraming mga nangyari sa akin na hindi maganda, kaya parating nangyari sa akin.
For me, I get encouraged to step out of the boat and fight now because for my situation, I asked to leave after my contract ended, and I was forced to stay on the boat and continue to work. That was not right, and I've endured a long experience of being in the fishing industry, facing many abuses, and so many places where they continue, like the different that he did in California and Hawaii. But he wants to share with the world what happens on those boats, what he has seen, so that people can learn about the conditions in their industry and realize that there's something they can do to fight back against the wrongdoings and exploitation that they experience.
Thank you, Father Mark, and thank you so much for So what we heard today were many different angles from the Filipino community, and for the different voices and faces that we heard today. Those issues alone can only push so much if it's just them. But that is the purpose of the Filipino American agenda. That is the purpose of our town hall here today, is for us to stand together as one united Filipino community. No matter the politics of that office, no matter what our different governments do, we need each other to hold them accountable and to actually fight for our rights, to actually listen for our calls for against surveillance. services, not war, but welfare. These are the things that we want. We want the Filipino American, we want our Filipino American agenda, and we want to move together with our. The breakout groups.
Ah. Hi, good evening, everyone. You still all right? Yeah. All right, that was a lot to process together. And I wanted to take a collective breath first, so that we can kind of just sit in what we just heard. Everybody, that's what you feel. I don't have that thing. Thank you. So, this next part is gonna get you up and moving. We have placed on each table, signs with different, parts of the Filipino American agenda. Some of them are numbered because they correspond to the number that we showed you earlier. And so what we're gonna ask you to do is to choose one of those, points that we have for the Filipino agenda, go to that table, have a scribe, someone to write what your action is going to be, and any other like main ideas that come up in your conversation with each other, and you'll appoint a spokesperson. And this spokesperson is the one that's going to come and say the action that you all come up with related to this. Okay, so you are going to choose a table, have some time to talk a little bit about what we all heard today, tonight, or this afternoon, and then pull from those points, what do you think will be a relevant action step, something to do that will support the work that we want to do with the FAA. Good? I give you a thumbs if you got that. All right, so everybody stand up, please. Slide one, we have economic district over here. We have the wellness in this section. We have cultural institutions in the back there, education, religious issues up front, and education like over there. And then we also have what's that last one? Foreign policy. I think last year was foreign policy. And if you need very excited, you guys want something to just raise your hand. We also have a yellow, bright yellow piece of paper on the table. Write those notes on, and then turn them into us when you are done, please.
I'll take out maybe a marker and that. Thank you.
Anyone here? Anything about writing tool?
Look at
Related to what we discussed,
Excited about.
It's like oh, like we want to see
The women's issues. Have you all signed?
Oh, yeah, I saw I guess. Yeah, it's so safe. But yeah, this one, lights. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
Bye.
Let's go. So can we start with Andrea? Yeah, or
My phone is.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think I have on my women's ministry.
I heard you. I couldn't call it.
Kidding, I'm just kidding.
I knew you're right. That I knew you're right.
No, I have to join my classes. Sorry. Okay, sorry, I derailed. Hello, today I'm wearing many hats. I am well, I'm in Seattle. I'm also with the Jose Rizal Coalition that's starting to form, and I'm with the women's ministry at Beacon UMC. Yeah, good job.
Thank you. Oh wait, I'm buzzing. Yeah. Yeah, thinking about your starting, you're also, I think it's good on top of that, like, really go down to.
Thank you for volunteering.
People have so far. In regards to. Can I have
Want to get right into it? I think transportation thing is something that I don't. It's organized for. Okay, some of the even the organizing yeah, we ended up hopefully on the demise it is the same even the big cell tags or all of them. And I think we might have sequels to other the situation is like we trade for recycling, even if it wasn't people within now, like it's when people going down say and you're through track of like south. Well, unless there are people there like it would even involve things like tasers, pepper spray, things like that. We're even having or calling people or like having someone involved and say like before I leave, this is the person I contact me. Those kind of things like that. It's like yeah, it is intimidating to bring up to it. Like it was like in my experience, it was the biggest thing I've ever done. Your events, like that weren't even like I'm scared to go home and party or that. So immediately that's something so or something. Yeah, I think maybe try to also very get on the thing, especially when having to right away, everybody has to do it time getting to the rest of it.
You don't want to like burden others for buying. Even just watching the party, like, all together. So there's always some activity, and you know, like people said they're scared, you know, think the bus. They would rather get $100. Now I don't work there. And it's kind of wild. Like in the last there's no one. Even like they get out of work, you know, like one can, if they're doing more like transportation option, like something. Yeah, there's even a taxi driver who's now there. It's also a symptom of like how passive money is, like yeah, I really think about it. One time I go about and then she actually like I was making hopefully she ran behind I use my voice.
Yeah.
And he backed up, but I was like, you know, and again, the company is doing everything it can to protect their people working together. They work so hard. So, yeah, a lot of them working in the hard way. I
Getting protection with any of the stuff.
The time capsule was like shortly, there was a dead body that was found in that water. And like this is a part that was like its legacy is meant for like our community, especially with the to like truly enjoy, and especially the namesake of it is truly to like celebrate our heroes and our culture. And if like it's really clear that the government, even though we're paying all the people to have spaces, it's not being taken away. You know, and like, yeah, blame the houseless community because it's just like, as Jill had said, like the economy is so bad that we
These are the biggest vandalizer in any.
Because like we immediately see the issues and how it connects to like the community and to everyone, you know. So like it just really shows that more of us really do need to like share out the different issues and to bring in as many. And then. And then in the CC of people who are like the workers themselves are a real and a lot of people who are healthcare workers, caregivers, you know, I would see this in general, just where and so there is a lot of workers who are at the place of having to pay the bills and money back home. Often they're even supporting the husband or mother, their children, whether they're doing career that's literally the minimum wage in Pensacola, which is the highest in the country, is $1 and 29 cents, 59 cents, and yet that is the cost of a curriculum. So it's like it's both abysmal, right? That the companies themselves put so much onus. Not enough. Like, it also like on the they are having and there's a but it's also if to whether that's not for first of looking at women who are and also just the baseline things that is in the writing instead of putting funding into things like the social media aspect is criminalizing further even the art force in like sex work prostitution it's like it's the onus is on the same government to actually hold the company responsible and actually provide services instead of putting it into doing it for. So yeah, just think that like in all of these instances, right? So they have been putting more pressure on the workers to really sell by themselves, but the answer is that we should follow up on like the solar panels. I mean, entering those zones forever. So one of the zones, right, by the way, healthcare services, like services that are impacted by this, and now that it's in the solution has been passed again because it was repealed in 2020, like from what like women and experts have been saying is that that bill, but not being there, actually kept country versus community disappearing too, of like community transportation, like on like other sex workers and travel through avenue to not face harassment, like not just feel like they were able to form their community. But now the bill essentially is like these sex workers now have to constantly be walking to not be connected. Having like police interaction be a part of this are their activity. So and then also they're not allowed to walk with you essentially like their community is like but it's hard when you work together. They're really scared and right now and I've worked with maybe like 500 people that's working over organizations
like,
I think, yeah, I think we had a step further. Really you know, on the street, like that's, you know, that's, I think is like something that, I mean, I know what you start to do, a textbook and one time with she was there, we had it. And now it's like, oh, they get, but I mean, we can say, like, reliant, you know, like now it's very good. Super, I mean, like, rather than. And not. Yeah, but it's very solid. Yeah, like, but it's like oh my God.
Yeah, like, they used to, I've never seen it, and now they're like, they're gonna stop living. Yeah, like, I've never seen, I've never seen anybody stop even looking for nothing. You know, it's like, it's not, it's like, anyway.
No, you're not. Yeah, right. Start a whole band. Also, others didn't realize. Wow. Let's go ahead and go over to each, right now, move over to each of your areas. I'm going to start on the side first. You ready? So, everyone, this is not core policy. Everyone, please bring your attention over here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let me know.
And how advocating for seekers' rights and for the rights of OWs overseas, but that was not recognized in the test, because there are certain member economies that don't want that. Because if they have that, then they would have to enforce it. And then we want people now that are like, driving. And so it's look to show that the foreign policy is also our teachers and what we're talking about here. And, yeah, so unfortunately, I just want to say this right now, for the record. Kind of one of the main contributors, teachers' rights, which is really complicated. And we want to, also highlight countries that are doing an amazing job for OWs in foreign policy. Hong Kong is currently the only country in the economy that doesn't punish OWs for becoming pregnant. The only one. United States, let's go. And so like foreign policies are not really like we use them also over people, other countries accountable for auditors overseas. So it's really impact that already workers who are the leader donors who said all the overseas. And we want to capture the basic human. Unfortunately, the United States in particular, there are a lot of legal issues that both countries in the world have we were trying to think of certain times we haven't done it all the time. More work environment stuff. Some of these funds are crazy, and so that scares workers into not seeking help, especially with the language barrier. And that's not just only happening in the United States. And so it's like foreign policy across the board. If we have strong foreign policy for OW rights at home, we can also, not be hypocrites, practice what we preach for overseas. And fight for their rights to personal autonomy. If they feel like they're not being we should for them. And find support. And that's why it is so important for foreign policy with the presence of the consulate here in the United States, specifically in Washington State, where there are over 109,000. So, so we need our own policy, so that people know they can run, especially when we're experiencing domestic violence. They know that they're in a place where they can go right now. So we really need to advocate for international law on the water. So for human rights, and we also reach out for art activism internationally, policy. Especially with advocating for constantly around inequality that happens in states that have their own consulate. We want our own consulate to be. Thank you. That's what we're talking about. Our next voting here is right now. Jonathan talked about how the military is not and that really shows up in terms of voting and Seattle, but
how, hold on, how, debate and, around military, whether they're here or just being, exposure and all that. Accounting of your people, related to school, including, and so, yeah, I love to talk about how that was, changes, we discussed, we need to, defend the rights of the, land defenders and non-defenders in the community, including, and, yeah, I also started talking about the, impact of, the typhoons and then what I'm doing to, that isn't, transactional or just providing support for limited food supply or, and not money, but generally people's needs and, letting the people determine what they are and, so one thing to do is to join and support, really put, about, right, and, personal funding for those that are going on the result. And, yeah, I think it's sort of something that we and then I think lastly, we talked about, back and the resolution and, associated with joy and then with how can we get to know more about, the people concerns and what they need about this and the impact on the health of the area. About, yeah, what was the other this, whether we still need to, taking out more people in the regular or, how they find we talked about the people that are impacted by all of the, environmental, I think it's better on you know, but basically the action that we were talking about was making believe that actually matters, not just really that we think they need, right? So going to people directly, found out what they need, and supporting all of the values, for, 26 and, the benefits of so the action is to do that, to get the definition of the people themselves. Staff are going to get it, and they'll find out what they really need versus giving them each and every. Thank you for all right, we're going to the right to affordable and relevant education.
That's right.
Wow. Okay, there's two of us, the students need to finish the level.
Sorry, I'd like to say also, this is, focus on the actions, only
Yeah, okay.
because our time is kind of running out, we got still need a clean up job, so.
Okay, action.
Sorry, tell the rest of
Now we need to do.
Yeah.
What actions can we take here? Unite with town hall, high school workers, migrants, on Office 5 of the community. Share stories about the demand to ensure funding on education. Creating a few accessible schools producing makers on campus. Join in some of the more American and general oral history projects to meet our community members and, know their stories to engage the community who are affected by the low budget for our education. We are reminded that everyone is uneducated. We can make and leaders know about the other.
All right.
Okay, some of the actions we said were help accessing resources. So going to people, not asking them for something back. To help them access language, or troubleshoot language barriers, accessing technology that they also help seeking training, self-efficacy, training, some of the right trainings that are culturally relevant. Create space and spaces for migrant workers to talk, to solutions, especially, through organizations, and then advocate for more state and federal funding for our current forestry spaces that support migrant workers.
So what are we looking for? Hopefully relevant information that was directly from people. Yeah. What else is the other reason that? Shout it out. Good. What do you think? What do you think? What are we asking about to do? Create and accessibility. All right. That's just all we have a spot.
We started, okay. We kind of started off talking about transportation right away, and it kind of means to collectivize like how we transport with each other, support each other in rides and those kind of stuff, because you know, those situations where you're forced to go home at night or things like that. Yeah, you shouldn't have to be traveling alone. There's also a good opportunity to, you know, connect with people in your community, to be able to be like, we're happy being home, and like other efforts of community support of personal defense items like tasers, pepper spray, and all of the other things that we can unite as a community, bring people home to back and forth, whether it's from home work or from even an event like today. Yeah, and also not to put the blame of the issue to protect ourselves in our own hands. I think we got one to that called hiding violence. It's all of course due to the economic crisis. And then that there's a need for us to be having things like women's town hall, so we can, yeah, have these kind of conversations that we had today and find more different ways that we can protect each other from, you know, or help each other in situations where we're isolated, particularly last minute at the workplace or the job or anywhere that we're receiving situations. We also talked about how the economic situation pushed a lot of women to sex work, and that they're further criminalized at that point as well, with the sort of laws that are currently being pushed out that it pretty much primarily target sex workers and criminalizing the situation that our own government has put them in. And so, you know, as community having mobilizing that will be several mobilizations of yes in the region. And yeah, I think it just in general counterculture, it like, you know, nobody should be in a situation where bringing up their issue with this entire community. It should be the opposite, and kind of like developing culture about assisting people speaking up and holding space and yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need more. We have more things to talk about.
Women's specific.
So more space to talk about women specific, support and issues, including conflicting and getting to work. And then what else the other main point?
Soda.
Opposed, so.
And soda.
Soap and soda.
Yeah, that's so Seattle being called.
Soap and soda is. The really, really brief version is Seattle-based policies that, hyper-criminalize regions where there are, concentrations of, sex workers with the purpose of criminalizing them rather than addressing the root issue of why they're in this place. So it's like it's a militarization of our own neighborhoods. All right, and then community advocacy, economic.
It's the high cheese, y'all. Good job, kuya. Yeah. Kaya mo yan.
Well, we wish that FAA will continue to do program like this and invite more migrant workers that are being abused.
Oo, tama.
To voice out their concern and to be united with all concerned.
Mhm.
And give workers education about their rights,
Yes,
Tama.
tama.
unite and fight together.
Woo! Yeah, laban.
They also talk about making sure that everyone knows what's going on within our communities and all of our communities. The education we talked about oral histories. It's bringing our communities together to really think about and find out what's going on. We don't know, we won't know unless we hear it from our communities, right?
Yeah.
We won't know what's going on unless we reach out. So let's start making those connections and really people out who we need to reach out to. Get to your auntie, your uncle, your brothers, whoever, anyone. And ask them, do you have a story to share? Is there something that is not right where you're sitting that needs to be fixed? And we're fixing it because we need to do it for our community.
That's
But we
right.
also need to hold people accountable for it.
That's right. You don't see me, right? Thank you so much, everybody, for, sharing your thoughts, and we kind of rushed through that. We totally appreciate that you came up, that we have your papers, but you look at it and kind of some actionable stuff, spread and support FAA. Oh, Yeah.
It's really important to hear, like, the narrative and what's the current community and know the concerns and stuff that they see. I'm gonna pass it off to me from Malala.
Woo! Dito, other side.
Thank you. No, let's give it up for how awesome this town hall has been. Yeah. So, yeah. My name is Mish, like they said, I'm with Malaya Movement. Now, I'm also a jolly worker, and my coworkers over there, we had a really great convo about workers' rights. Yeah, Malaya actually just came back from our very first Philippines immersion trip.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, we went home, we integrated with farmers, we integrated with the people of the Philippines who are really suffering under dire conditions. And where we went, where our Seattle contingent went, was Negros, where most of the land is owned by these big companies that are destroying the farmland for hotels and resorts and malls. We met farmers whose houses and rice fields were being flooded, and nothing was being done about it, despite their many appeals to the local government. And we saw a lot of quarrying that was destroying the river that they depended on. It was actually diverting the entire course of the river and polluting it so that the kids couldn't swim in it or bathe in it anymore. And that's not unique to Negros. I learned recently that in Bicol, where the cyclone Christine is really hitting it hard, there's over 30 quarrying sites there that are causing landslides and a lot of environmental destruction. And when you have that combined with the neglect of the government that is not really stepping up to serve the needs of the people who are suffering from this natural disaster, you really get this urgent situation where the people are suffering and they need adequate services, they need housing, they need healthcare, they need their jobs back. So, when the government isn't adequately helping the people have no other choice but to help themselves and protect each other. Yeah, and so we saw that. And that's what NAFCON is actually really gonna do in this next period. They're going on their own trip. They're sending 30 delegates to a health mission where they're gonna help the communities really empower themselves to rebuild in the midst of Cyclone Christine. You know, we already have like millions of people affected, close to 200 people dead. So this is a really, really needed trip in this time. Well, that being said, they could really use the support of the community in making this trip possible. So I believe they have a goal of 40,000, which do we think they can make it? Yeah, they can make that. 40,000. I don't know if there's a QR code on the next slide or something, but you can go to online tinyurl.com or tinyurl /2424 via Nihan. You can donate there. Oh, this is some pics from our trip in the Philippines, the foraging that you see. So you can donate online, you can donate, have a little paper bowl with $1 if you want to donate some in cash. And then they're also doing via box drives. So they're seeking in-kind donation support for things like canned goods and toiletries and basic supplies that are really expensive in the Philippines, especially during a natural disaster. So really for us to step up and help our kababayan, this is a really great time for us to do that. Yeah, and I also believe that there is a National Day of Action, I think on the 8th, where they're really calling for people to help fundraise online. So whether tonight or the next time you get paid, instead of buying that $5 coffee at the cafe, feel free to really consider donating to this really great cause. Yeah, and then if you're interested, Malaya Movement is having our local report back on our trip. It'll be Monday evening, November 18th, 6 to 9 p.m. at United Methodist Church in Beaconville. So we'd love to talk to y'all more about that, about what we experienced in the Philippines. I know NAFCON will have their own share back when they come back. Yeah, so let's support our fellow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, make sure to donate to that, let your friends, your order, and everyone know to give money to that. All right, I'm gonna wrap us up with some calls to action and a little quick for Pastor John. The next slide, please. All right, become an endorser of the FAA. So individually or as an organization, we really encourage you to take up these priorities and the challenge, right, to fight for our communities and make sure that their narratives and their voices are heard. Next slide. Another action step is that on Saturday, November 9th, there's going to be a march now with the Filipino contingent at Seattle Center from 1 p.m. in response to the U.S. elections. So make sure to really show up, let your friends, your organizations know to be there on November 9th. Another one too is on Sunday, November 11th. There's going to be a Filipino American community inquiry post-election to just reflect and analyze the election results. So really it's a space to come together to talk, whatever happens after the election, but whoever's up there isn't really gonna change, right? Like provide the change that we need. So it's really the people who will create that change and push forward. So make sure to come to this post-election debrief on Sunday, November 10th. A couple of legislative responses that you could do, right? Endorsing the PHRA, which is a national legislation that is trying to be passed that would prevent human rights violations to happen by the U.S. government in the Philippines. So if you have more questions on that, to talk to anyone from the FAA task force to yourselves or
to start the campaign, with your papaya. A reminder again that your vote matters, so talked earlier about those initiatives to vote no on. Just to point out, if you're not registered to vote yet, Washington is the same day, registration and voting state, meaning that you can register the day of when ballots are due and get that vote in. And if you're unable to vote, just pick up local calls, to action and campaigns to endorse the FAA and talk with voters on how they can endorse the FAA with their vote. And then this right here is a little toolkit, for the FAA, if you wanna, yeah, copy that link, share it with other folks. Yes, endorse the FAA, everyone, and maraming salamat! I know it's very late, it's very long, and there's a lot of information to process, but you being here means so much to everyone.